So Valerion is back with a stunning 4K laser projector here. They're throwing all of their tech into the Max model. So the VisionMaster Max is their absolute top end. This is their flagship here, and it's an expensive model. Brightness goes up to 3500 ISO lumens. It has an iris that's adjustable in there, which has 6 different levels. It's mechanical to improve the contrast and that brightness. And it does have HDR10 support, Dolby Vision, IMAX Enhanced, and built-in speakers. They're 12 watts each. There's 2 of them. Pretty good bass. I'll give you a sample of them later on. And you can even adjust now with the Max model, the vertical. There's a vertical up and down. So we've got plus or minus 105 degrees in this, which gives us a lot more flexibility, especially if you're going to be mounting it, say from a ceiling and a bracket, then you can angle it up and down, which is very handy. You can see right now, even with my bright studio lights on, I'm projecting an image and it looks really good. So I'll be running through this model and show you what the VisionMaster Max is all about and my thoughts on it. Looking at what is included, we have a user manual right here, which is quite a thick one in various different languages that goes through all the setup settings and all your typical stuff in there. And then we've got this box with our accessories in it. Now, they do include a cleaning cloth there, that's for the lens. We do have our power supply, which is a nice small size there, European plug version that I do have. And then our remote. So the remote that's backlit, you can see there are dedicated buttons there for YouTube, Netflix, Prime Video, and Disney+. We've got Google TV, of course, so this has Google Assistant, and you've got some settings there for autofocus, keystone correction. So a nice remote here. The design of the VisionMaster Max is really good. I love it. I think it's high quality. The build, it's definitely a solid machine. So we've got this metal around the outside of it, the lines, very sleek. In the black, yes, it is quite a bit reflective, as you can see, and we have this cube shape. So either side, there is some ventilation. So if we're looking at the back of it, on the right side, this seems to be the intake through these vents here. So of course it is actively cooled. There is a fan inside, but that fan noise is very low and you barely hear it. You're only going to hear it if you're sitting next to it. And on the left is where you do feel a little bit of hot air coming out through those vents. So it's being cooled quite well there, and great that we don't have any loud offensive fan noise, because that just wouldn't cut it with such a high-end machine. Discreetly hidden away behind this flap is where you're going to find all of your ports and inputs. So this is the DC in to power it. We have optical, audio, USB 3 Type A, USB 2 Type A, and then 3 HDMIs. And the HDMI number 3 is the one that supports eARC. And yes, they take 4K for this, because after all, this is, as I said in the intro, it's a 4K, so Ultra HD projector, 3.5mm audio, and a gigabit LAN port. Yes, this is the first time I've seen this in a projector. And we have infrared and then the power button. So there's little status LEDs at the top. There's 4 of them, and we do have some microphones. And if you want to, you can just simply switch this into the off position, and you have disabled those microphones at the hardware level. So impressive when it comes to the projector specs. 3500 ISO lumens, HDR support, and a 50,000 to 1 viewing contrast ratio, which is impressive. They've got their noir scene system, so black level enhancement, and there is a mechanical iris within this too as well. So there's a lot going on. It's really quite high end. Now we've got 6 level iris with this, a mechanical iris, and then there's adjustment, vertical adjustment of plus and minus 105 degrees with the optics in there. So it does have the optical zoom, that dynamic iris, and their Pro Vision engine. So it's got a really promising image quality that I'll be covering a lot in this video with the Valerion VisionMaster Max. So just quickly here, let me show you my setup. So I am using an AOL Vision, so one of their own screens. This is an ALR screen. It's 120 inches. I'm projecting to about, I would estimate, around about 110, probably a little bit less than that. And I'm recording it with an ultra-wide lens here with my Sony camera. So we may see a little bit of distortion, but I'm trying to do it justice, the picture quality. And of course, right now I have a bright studio light on this ALR screen. And you can see, because of that 3500 ISO lumens, it's holding up really well, even under this really powerful light. So the UI that it runs is Google TV, as I said before, and you're probably already familiar with it. So right now I've just got this wallpaper up here, and it's a good way for me to go through just a few little images that we can see, and you can see just how vibrant this is, the colors, the contrast, that brightness, the 3500 ISO lumens. It looks stunning, especially with this ALR screen. So far, really happy with the results. Now, I'm not seeing any rainbow effect. I can turn that on. I don't actually think it's needed. What I have noticed is turning that setting on, I hear like a small buzzing noise coming from the VisionMaster Max. Now, it's not that loud, but if you sit next to it, you will be able to hear that. So I'll go into the home menu. So if you've used Google TV before, you'll probably be familiar with this. You get all your recommended movies and applications right here you do have installed. So I've got all the popular streaming services. I will go into a couple of those just to test it out, the performance. So I'm connected up to Wi-Fi, my 5G network here with this. It's very fast. Everything loads in really good. Now we do get 4 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, which is a lot. You do not normally get that kind of capacity. That's more than we actually do need. Now, I do apologize if you see some banding coming through. Projectors are incredibly hard to record, and I'm trying to do this justice because it's a stunning image here we are getting with this. Now, it supports Dolby Vision, IMAX Enhanced 2 with it, and we've got the HDR 10 Plus. Now, there's some settings in here that I will show you. Some of them I cannot demonstrate because I do have to use the tilt that it has, okay? So I have to vertically shift the lens up a little bit in order to get the projection in line with my screen, having it on the desk. But what I can show you is under the projector menu, all the options we do get. So auto keystone correction, it's doing an excellent job of fitting that image into your projector screen or even on your wall to get it all straight. And the autofocus is working really well too. And that is, for me, one of the most important things to have is that autofocus and keystone correction, especially if you move your projectors around, working very good. Now, autofocus, I believe this is only about 5 seconds or so. You can see it just blurs a little bit. And because it has a time-of-flight camera on the front, those sensors, it gets it in focus perfect. Probably better than I can actually do this. Now, you do have the button on the remote. You can manually go along and then focus that yourself if you wanted to. So go back in here. We've got our display zoom. Now, this is optical, which is really good. So you're not losing any quality there. So I can zoom in and then zoom out. So up to 300 inches projection is possible in 4K. And if we have a look, I'll go back and just quickly show you the other settings. There's a couple in there that are still quite interesting. So we had the position adjustment, which I've used before. I've already just adjusted this to get this perfect basically for my recording, or as good as I can get it. So I don't really want to tweak that one too much. But under projection, we have this one right here, which is the lens shift. So that is the vertical, as I talked about, the plus and minus 105 degrees. Now, because I'm using this, it does state here that what it's going to disable is auto keystone correction and auto eye protection, because we've moved the lens up or down, which I've done in this case. So can't demonstrate both of those due to my own setup here, and I do apologize for that. But there are so many good settings. And when it comes to the manual focus, that's all in there. We have the iris, so the mechanical iris, the 6 different levels, and you can set to automatically have it avoid obstacles on the screen. The eye projection that I just talked about. And this is where we have the rainbow artifacts. So you can turn that on. And I hear that slight buzzing noise coming from it as it's working. I don't really think I need it because I'm not seeing speckle, and I'm not seeing any rainbow effect, any ghosting or anything like that. We have an ultra sharp mode. That's on by default, so I've just left it 3D there too, and even 3D to 2D option. You can convert those images. There's another thing I want to show you too. So under picture, we do have the typical settings there. And the luminance for the laser, this can be all adjusted. The black level, enhancement, contrast. So there's so much in here. Gamma, I've just left it the default 2.2. That's what I want to keep it at. And HDR enhancer, by default, that is off. It will auto detect the HDR content. Anyway, color, clarity, calibration settings too as well. So you can tune all of this. Fantastic options to have. And really what I do expect to see in a high-end projector such as this. So let's load up Netflix. We'll see how this does perform. So go into my account. I expect it to load in really quick, and that was super fast. So those little preview screens, they're not in the proper 4K resolution. In fact, it looks a little bit blocky because it's just streaming that. So I'll just go into The Witcher Season 4 here, and we'll take a look. As this is starting to cache in, it should sharpen up. And we see at the top there is 4K. It's telling us that it supports. And Dolby Vision has popped up too as well. And that image, that's absolutely stunning. It is looking very detailed, really good. I can only unfortunately show a few seconds of this because copyright issues. Motion also looking great. And just those details there, fantastic. So no speckle, no rainbow effect, none of that I can see at all. And really pleased with how quick and snappy the whole UI is and how fast Netflix, Prime Video is all loading in and caching things very quick. And that image quality, just fantastic. Looking at some black level content now, which is really demonstrating the contrast, the brightness here, and the colors. So the black level's super deep, again, no speckle present. Focusing on the black levels here, after all, we do have the EBL algorithm with this, so the enhanced black level, and it's fantastic. I'm not seeing anything that I can complain about. This being a projector, the black levels, yes, they are impressive, and especially looking at this bird in flight now, I mean, I'm stunned by this. Yes, it's not going to be OLED level, but for a projector, I have not seen them get those black levels as good as this right here. So it's definitely helping with the mechanical iris. I do have that mode enabled, and those black levels, I have that tweak, the black level enhancement on, and it is definitely working there. And I hope this is coming through in the capture. Now, what you're seeing with the black levels isn't quite as deep as I'm seeing, but it really is truly impressive, I think, for a projector to be able to achieve that now. As I said, not OLED levels. We still can't achieve that with projectors, and I doubt we ever will, but really, really impressive to get a 4K projector to produce those really deep blacks that you want. Now, don't forget that my ALR screen, it is a darker gray color, so that is certainly helping with this. And looking at just some general HDR content now, I am really blown away by this image quality. This has to be, I think, one of the best now that I've seen. It is an expensive projector. So we're looking around about the €5,000 mark for its recommended retail price when not on sale. And all those details. It is fantastic. It really is the absolute best. I am really impressed with what I'm seeing here. Then some of my own content here on YouTube. We'll take a look at what just standard kind of content is going to look like. This is not in HDR, and that is looking incredibly clear. Very good. My own videos here, and I know the colors because I recorded myself this image, and yes, it's a little bit saturated, that image just before, but that is the way the shot is, and overall really pleased with these results and how quickly this cached and loaded in and went straight into 4K. And yes, you do notice the difference when it's 1080p and then you go to 4K. You definitely notice that jump in quality and the details you gain from the high resolution. And a quick test of gaming here of the VisionMaster Max. So the input lag, the latency is 15 milliseconds at 4K, which I'm currently playing at. And that is absolutely fine. I think for casual gaming like this, which is what I always seem to test out on these projectors, casual racing game, Dirt 5 here. Now, you can set it to 1080p, the resolution, and when you do so, it's going to be 8 milliseconds at 120 hertz, the latency, input lag. The latency then is improving, of course, with the lower resolutions, but if you do run 1080p at 240 hertz, that drops it down to an impressive 4 milliseconds then. So if you are serious about gaming on a very large immersive screen, and you're okay with 1080p, then run 1080p at 120 hertz, and then you're going to have that really low input latency. But even at 4K right now, playing Dirt 5, I'm not finding this to be an issue at all for this kind of casual level of gaming. And it looks really good. Absolutely stunning at 4K. So detailed, nice and sharp, and no artifacts or rainbow effects, speckle, ghosting, none of those problems at all that I can see or detect.
Now, really impressive image quality from our Vision
Master Max. I am really happy with their black levels, the fact that they go really quite dark for a laser projector. I don't see any speckle, I'm not seeing any rainbow or ghosting kind of effects. Now, speaking about the rainbow artifacts, there is a mode to turn that on to remove it, but I haven't needed it. And when I have turned it on, it makes a slight buzzing noise. That's just a bit of a trade-off, that when it's enabled, you're going to hear that noise if you're right next to the projector. Now, I haven't given you a fan sample that I normally do because it is so quiet. It's very quiet. You can probably just hear it if I'm not talking. Hard to hear that and pick that up, but it's an excellent projector when it comes to the cooling the fan noise. And you feel the hot air coming out. Well, if I'm looking at the front of it now, it's the right side of it. You feel it and perfectly fine. Now, there's built-in speakers, 12 watts. There's 2 of them. They put out punchy bass. They do sound, I think, really good for inbuilt speakers in a projector. Of course, set yourself out with a surround system, or at least do 2.1 setup, so you have a sub and stereo left and right separated, and something quite powerful with an amp. You've got the eARC support on this, and you get to see gigabit LAN port too. That's the first time I've seen that on a projector, so that means that everything is going to be fast. Not that I had any issues with just using Wi-Fi 5. So as you probably saw in this, that I had the Google TV, everything load and cache, those thumbnails really good. Netflix worked absolutely fine. Amazon Prime Video I've also tested, but I haven't shown on this. Really good, caches in quick. And YouTube, that didn't have any issues streaming at all. So that's all fantastic there. It's got the 4 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of onboard storage, inboard storage there too, which gives you ample. That's going to be way more than you actually need for Google TV, but still really good to see. So it all boils down to excellent image quality, that sharpness, the contrast, the brightness I'm seeing, the 3500 ISO lumens, and the fact that we have the iris set up with this, so it's got those mechanical 6 different levels that it can set there to improve that contrast and the brightness. And then the low latency mode for gaming, so 15 milliseconds at 4K 60 Hertz, or 4 milliseconds only at 1080p to 40 Hertz, which is impressive. The downside to this machine, like all of these high-end projectors, is the price of them. So it is around about the €5,000 mark at the time of this video. So it is an expensive unit. That's its recommended retail price, but you're gaining that fantastic image quality. And this is, without a doubt, this year the best machine that I have covered so far. So thank you so much for watching this video.